Three of the Idaho State Coaches Show, coming to you as we have the last year or so from the Union Tap Room in Old Town, Pocatello, and we are having a blast down here, and we know it's going to be a great season, and we've got a couple of great guests to get things started this season on the Idaho State Coaches Show. We're going to lead it off with Bengals head football coach Cody Hawkins, and then we're going to talk to Director of Athletics Pauline Thiros, and there is a lot to cover with both of you, Cody. So first of all, welcome back. Thanks for taking the time. I know game 1 week is crazy, but we sure appreciate you coming and taking the time.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Scott. Excited to spend some more time with you.
Yeah, it's going to be. There's a lot of good things going on, not only with the football program but around campus. So, first of all, what kind of energy are you guys getting? I mean, it's 125 years, the 125th anniversary of Idaho State. Does some of that energy and some of the things going on around campus, does that feed into the team and the coaching staff?
You know, I don't know if it's the stuff you see, but you feel it. You know, I think I bet you half the guys on our team wouldn't know it's our 125th year because it's not something that we've talked about a ton. But I think they notice the signs on campus. They notice the new buildings going up. They understand the construction. They noticed the new game day atmosphere that our facilities are starting to work on. I mean, they feel that. And they might not necessarily know why, but you can definitely feel the swell of excitement around this season, and our guys are ready to go.
You guys have been hard at it for about 5 weeks. And it really started back in January with one thing you mentioned yesterday, I believe it was you in the press conference, that you're getting a lot of the freshmen who are graduating early and getting into the program in January when they would normally be finishing up the end of their senior year. How much of an impact and how much does that help to have those younger guys exposed and around earlier?
Yeah, I think if football is going to be as transient as it has become, you know, just with the transfer portal and everything, you're trying to buy as much time as you can because as a coach, it's just hard to build culture when you have to do it every 6 months. And when I say culture, it's not that I have some secret formula that other people don't have, but there are behaviors that you want to create an expectation and a standard of how you do certain things, how you treat people, how you practice, how you prepare. And the opportunity to get guys in there earlier is great. So this year it was twofold, and there was only one transfer portal, massive benefit. So all the guys you were going to lose, you knew. You lost them in January, and while it made my holiday season absolutely terrible, it made my May a lot better. And so you deal with that, and because of the coming 5-for-5 rules, you have a lot more freshmen that aren't willing to just show up in July and eat a redshirt year. They're saying, hey, if my clock's going to start ticking immediately, I want to get going. And so, yeah, we had a lot of incomers who are going to help us, both transfers and freshmen, show up in January. So fall camp this year was infinitely more stable than it was last year. We were able to start working on upper division teaching rather than just telling people where the cafeteria is.
Well, so let's talk about the fall camp. Coming into this season 4 for you, year 4 we all know started November 23rd or whatever it was last year. But season 4, obviously some high expectations, but just kind of talk about what the focus has been here in fall camp.
I think the focus for us is always just trying to get better. Like, how do we be the best version of ourselves? And that means you're taking a lot of guys and focus on their leadership qualities. You're taking guys and working on our communication. You're working with the coaches of how can we get to those answers a little bit sooner? How can we refine those teaching and kind of bake that into the install that, you know, if we get this, then we want to do that, and making sure our players understand those answers as well. And it's been a joy to see so many of these guys. You know, this is kind of the first time where you see a lot of people who were young pups when you showed up. The Julian Masons, the Dason Brooks, the Jordan Cooks, the guys who were young and fresh and didn't know which way was up and were just, you say at the bottom of the barrel, not physically, but they were young guys, and they were always kind of playing second fiddle to other people from a decision-making standpoint, where now you have guys like Jordan Cook and Nathan Reynolds who are at the forefront of the team. They're leading everybody and everything. And you remember when they were really young and green, and now they're mature young men that you're super proud of, and their progression individually is kind of indicative of the progression of the program. And the culture, right? I mean, with you and with most coaches, you have a culture you want to establish. But this is 4th year, obviously. I've been around the program and watching the guys, and it has a different feel. Every year it feels like it just builds a little bit more. How have the young guys bought into that? It's funny, the young guys don't necessarily know any different, and I think that's why when you build when you build any program, when you build any culture, whether it's in a company or in football, you want those behaviors to become second nature. And I think it's hard to change anybody's behavior overnight. You have some guys who have been really crucial to our push to try to improve this place, starting with the administration. Pauline Thiros and President Satterley before President Wagner came in, they kind of bought into the vision of how we're going to treat people and what we're going to chase. And then you have your Cortland Hortlands, your Mike Davises, your Josh Alfreds, guys that showed up and had been big players, but you couldn't change anybody. You couldn't change their habits, their behaviors, the way that they thought completely. But you're like, man, can we steer it just a little bit? And those guys bought in and made things a little bit better. And now you have freshmen that expect to play well in all phases. You have guys that expect, the standard of special teams, even though we've had new guys, people show up, they expect to be the best. And, I think that's probably been the most impressive thing is just guys come in and they expect to have success and they expect to be treated well. They expect to be held accountable to a really high standard and that they expect improvement. And that's what's been preached to them their entire career, that we're always chasing the best version of ourselves. And even this morning, I don't really care about winning and losing football games. I care about doing it right and about recruiting good players and coaching them to be their best, because if we can do that, then, hey, we'll end up being pretty dang good and we'll have a product we can be proud of.
Well, let's break down the team. Let's start on the offensive side. That's your bailiwick, if you will. Quarterbacks. Obviously, right now, Jordan Cook is going to be the one. It looks like Davis is probably two. But especially with Jordan, the way he finished last year, what improvements have you seen, say, since the beginning of last year with how he finished and how he's built on those skills and so forth?
Yeah, well, he had to tackle some adversity last year with a little bit of his injury and the tough schedule at the start of the year and his kind of reemergence as the leader of the offense. And the way he finished last year has continued to grow. I think the thing I've been most impressed with is his ownership of the team and the scheme and his own preparation. Yep. That he's continued to go, and he's playing really confident football right now, and you love talking to him. He's a guy that he does not make excuses at all. He kind of goes out there and he'll own it when it's his bad. He asks good questions, and even though he is not the guy that's going to stand in front of the team and yell at everybody and tell them what to do, people feel his presence and they can see his process, so they understand that there's a really high standard, and they always believe they have a shot with him on the field.
Talk about Davis Harsin, too, because this is a guy that, I think you said it yesterday, he's just a football nut. He just loves it, right?
Yeah, he's had fingerprints all over what we're doing, too. When Hars is in there, you got to make sure you are coaching it right, and that level of detail for every part of the scheme and operation has to be there. And I really think Jordan's relationship with Davis has been a big part of both of their growth, that Jordan sees things better and understands, like, all right, hey, these are the plays that we want versus these coverages, and Davis understands protections at a really high level and run game at a really high level, and the way that Davis competes kind of bleeds over to Jordan, that they know they're going to be able to go at it every year. I think Davis is a guy kind of with an unshakable confidence, and you've seen Jordan take pages out of that book, and that's why I think both those guys have played such a big role. And I'm so excited for Jordan to have his moment, because you really feel like Jordan right now is the best version of himself. Yep. He's when you recruit guys, especially a guy with the talent that Jordan had coming in, knowing how green he was, you always have these dreams and hopes about the person that they can become, even more so than the player that they can become. And even last night, he had everybody over to his in-laws' house and had a big dinner for the offensive linemen and the other quarterbacks and the coaches. And I told Jordan, I'm so proud of him, because he deserves this moment. And he's going to go out there and he's going to chase it. And Davis is recognized as a leader still. And that I love that people seeing how Davis prepares, even though he knows right now he's playing second fiddle to Jordan, it doesn't mean that he's going to accept anything less from a preparation and an execution standpoint.
And I saw those guys several times over the summer. They play a lot of golf. And a great story about Davis Harsin. I ran into Jordan and Davis and a couple of the other guys at Highland Golf Course, and it was a month or so ago maybe. And Davis broke 90 for the first time at Highland, and he was pretty jacked about it. But again, I think that shows it's not just in the meeting rooms. It's not just on the practice field. These guys really have a relationship, right, as teammates and as friends outside of all the football structure.
Well, and that's where you start to feel really confident. It's not just seeing guys executing plays. Those guys, Nathan Reynolds and Jordan, yesterday at practice, they were going back and forth talking to each other, which neither of those guys really do.
Sure.
But they feel comfortable talking to each other in a competitive manner. And when it comes to camaraderie and standards, even those guys came in together to talk to me about a couple things after practice today. They really feel like it's their team because they know the way, they're showing the way, they're going the way, they're bringing other people with them. And the type of people that they are, when that can bleed into what they're doing on Saturdays and on the weekends, it's pretty incredible that you look at Nathan Reynolds and Jordan Cook, two dudes who came from completely different walks of life, both their family backgrounds, their geographical backgrounds, their majors, their status on the team. And then now those guys they're the best players on your football team. They're the leaders of the football team, and they're best friends. I feel like when that is your core, you're always going to have a shot.
Running back room is, again, full. Dason Brooks back 100% healthy. And I have been so impressed with Robert Freeman IV, how he has come back off of that knee injury. And he just feels, I get a feeling from him that he knows he's going to do some really good things this year. Let's talk about the running backs a little bit.
Yeah, you got to start with Dason just because he's the real deal. It's awesome to have a guy like that who is totally bought into the team philosophy. If you told him he had to block a defensive tackle one-on-one every week, he'd be totally bought in. But he has the ability to go for 200 in any game. But he's also the best pass-protecting running back in America. And that's at every level. You know, if you look at what Pro Football Focus, the stats, and how he engages blocks, the blocks that he executes at a high level, he's done a great job. And his influence has been pushed into Robert, whereas Robert Freeman is a guy that it's evident to everybody that he's electric. But to see Dason's team-first mentality has continued to push Robert to be about the little things, and Dason's physicality had made Robert more physical, and the understanding of pass protection that Robert knows he's going to have to elevate his game in those areas because nobody's going to be better than those two guys with the ball in their hands. But seeing Dason's intangible buy-in has made Robert really good too, and that was something that kind of hurt us in the middle of the year last year as well of, you know, you go down from losing two guys you felt like were going to be electric, and then Dason and Robert were both down for a time period, and as coaches and players, it took time to find that adjustment. So we got to keep them healthy. We got to feed them the ball early and often, and we're excited about having both those playmakers leading the room. But also don't forget about Carson Sudbury. He's a guy that played a lot last year, has continued to improve, and is playing his best football right now. He's just an overall solid back who can do just about anything that you ask him to at a pretty high level.
Wide receiver room, you got to replace a couple of big names, Shulikov, Nunnally. But from what we've seen in the fall camp and in the scrimmages, got some guys out there. Let's talk about the wide receivers and the slots, just kind of the receivers in general. Of course, getting Chayton James back.
We know the standard in that receiver room is going to be pretty high. That in 3 years, I think we've had 5 all-conference receivers, which is pretty cool. 6 actually. So we had Chayton in 23, Fred and Jeff in 25, and you had Dame, Zion, and Mike that all got some honors last year. And I just want to be clear that to me, it's not about throwing the football. I mean, if you want to win football games, you got to be able to run at a high level, and we're excited to continue to elevate that. But I just think the standard in that room is so high, and the young guys have seen people do it at a really high level, and then the type of players that you're able to attract, the Eli Aragons, the Chayton James coming back, and Zedekiah and Jimmy Trilla are studs. But then Juice and Sim and Tommy, guys that you're kind of growing from within, who play at a really high level. I've never felt better about the depth of our receiver room than I do right now. And you're going to need some guys to step up and be consistent, but we're going to play here for the next couple of weeks. We're going to play a lot of guys. You'll hear a lot of names, see a lot of faces, and we expect no drop-off in play. I don't know if we have anybody with those outright superpowers that, you know, whether it's Mike and Freddie and their ability to make contested catches, or Zion and sheer power and speed. But you're going to see guys that are really consistent, can make a lot of plays, and I'm excited about what they'll do for us this year.
We can talk about the quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, but nothing happens without those big guys in the front, that offensive line. And I know there's a couple of guys that have really stood out because of some injuries. Messiah Johnson at left tackle, Ryan Carby taken over at center for Alex Ramirez. But that offensive line, a little bit inexperienced, but I know you're very confident in what they have been doing and what they will do, right?
Yeah, I always tell people, man, I love our process here at Idaho State, from how we treat those guys. Those guys get the nicest meeting room, how we feed them at a high level in the conference, and how we train them with Jeff Pittman and John Hughes, getting to really work their hands on them. You know, Coach Hughes is an O-line guru. He's the best. He's awesome. He could coach at any level of football. There's a reason that he got some professional opportunities last year, and we were able to keep him here because of some serious help from people in our community. And then having Jeff Pittman, the best in the business, a former O-lineman himself, has put over 100 guys in the NFL, many of them linemen in the trenches on both sides of the ball. I told him that, hey, I'm not satisfied with where we're at, but I'm really pleased with the process, and I'm not worried about where we're going. And for those guys to tackle a situation where you thought you were going to have all 5 guys back, and then sure enough, they're going to be all 5 new faces going into this year, that I appreciate how those guys have attacked it, and they haven't backed down from the standard at all. And the work of Coach Hughes, his assistant, Anthony Morales, and Jeff Pittman, they've done a great job, and really excited. I mean, Carby's a heck of a leader. Messiah and Frosty were guys that we knew were going to be pillars of the program at some point. While their time may have showed up earlier than some of us would have wanted or expected, we're really happy with how they've done.
Let's talk about Grant Duff on the defensive side of the ball, because there have been some real improvements there. A couple of great returners, guys coming back as far as Troy Wilkie coming off of injury, Jackson Daniels coming off of injury, and Troy gives us a little wry grin back there. It's good to have him here. But let's talk about this defense, because there's a lot riding on it. And right now, that defensive line is really, they're playing some spectacular football, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around football for a while, and after camp I said, man, either we're terrible up front or we got the best D-line in the country. And I have seen an offensive line play, and I talked about those guys. I'm pretty sure it's the latter. Excited about our defense. And it's not so much what those guys are doing, but it's how they play. I think started Troy, and Troy's right here, that everybody was excited about Rylan Leathers last year, but Rylan was sitting on the bench next to me because Troy was expected to be our guy last year, and kind of the culture that he lives and breathes. I mean, he came from a winning high school program, was at Boise State and was a part of a college football playoff team, came here and didn't back down an inch. His standard of how he prepares and plays and competes and treats his teammates is super high, and that's bled over to some other talented safeties in that room on the back end. And then up front you have, we bring back 3 starters from a really good offensive line. And then the guys that you end up replacing him and backing him up with, Ricky Ali'ifua did a great job going out and recruiting and then training those guys. Ricky spent time in the National Football League himself. He knows what elite football looks like. And keeping him here again because of some help from people in our community was an absolutely massive coup. And what Coach Duff is able to do with those guys, the amount of movement, stunts, fronts, blitzes that you see. We were having a 3rd down period against our defense yesterday and was saying, thank goodness we don't have to play these guys on Saturday. I don't want to deal with them on Tuesday or Wednesday, but that if we play that brand of football on Saturday that our defense is capable of playing, we are going to be elite. And that's not something that is unfamiliar to Grant Duff. He's been a part of a lot of elite defenses, and it starts with the standard that he implements, both in how you treat people, how you teach, and how you play. Running the football, have an elite scheme. I mean, there's nothing that we do on defense at a subpar level. Now, our guys have to go do it, and we got to withstand. We're going to get adversity at some point. We're going to get hit on some big plays. But I'm really comfortable with the guys that we have there at every single level on defense, and I'm excited to watch them go play on Saturday.
And you've got a depth. You've got a wealth of depth on that defensive side. I mean, you mentioned how you're going to hear a lot of names offensively. I think you're going to see a lot of guys defensively as well these first couple of games, right? Yeah, I mean, just our secondary, you talk about the amount of guys who can play there, that you return Trey Shorty, Gabe Tahir, and Jackson Daniels, your 3 starters, and then you throw Kai Callan into the mix, and a couple Taiwan Jones and Teddy. You got some good players in that room. Noah Kalaikai is a corner who's made a lot of big plays for us. Our secondary room, it's so, last year I remember at times we were just wondering how are we going to do from a depth standpoint, and right now with Troy, Isaiah, Decker, Titan Saxton coming. I mean, just the cultural depth, the athletic depth that we have, which for the standard that we play at, I mean, I want our guys to fly. I want them to be physical, and I want them to be, I want to say it appropriately on air. It's just 11 angry dudes running the football all the time. And I think we're going to have that. And I love how they support each other. I talk about our offense and defense being competitive, not combative. And that's like Troy. There's nobody on the team who doesn't love Troy Wilkie. Not a single guy. There's nobody on the team that doesn't love Dason Brooks. Not a single guy. And they're going to have each other's backs. And there are going to be certain times where the defense is going to have to carry the day and certain times where the offense is going to have to carry the day. I don't know when those days will be, but I feel like we have the ability to be a championship caliber football team in all 3 phases. Now we just got to go do it. Okay, well, that brings up the last couple of questions I want to run by you. First of all, how much does the 4-game win streak to close out last year? I know it was 5-6 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever. But is there carryover from that success that you guys showed in that big win over UC Davis, number 6 team in the country?
No. I
Yeah?
mean, I think fans do because it's like, hey, the last time we were in the Dome, we were winning. And the last time I had to watch a game, it was winning. I think more than anything, it's maybe the standard and the confidence.
Yep.
Like there's like, oh, like we can be in this fight, but from a coaching and execution standpoint, none of it is the same. You have 9 guys on offense that were different humans in that game. Like that's different. And on defense, I love Troy. I have total confidence in him, but this is going to be his first time to go out and do it in the Dome. And he's earned that opportunity. I know he's going to go be great, but you talk about the carryover. I think it's the confidence and the expectation, the belief that you can do it, but you are still at ground zero. The first time we got to make a check against zero pressure is going to be the first time any of those receivers or O-line have done it. So we got to go out and do that. And hey, Trajan Sinatra hitting the game-winning field goal. He's not here anymore. And do I have total confidence in Mason? Yeah, guys love Mason. He had an unbelievable fall camp. He had a better fall camp than either of the 2 kickers that we had before that who ended up being all-conference guys, but you still got to go do it. Yeah. So we believe in the pieces, and we are happy that the standard continues to raise, but you still have to understand that, hey, man, last year is last year. Yeah. And we aren't playing schedules. We don't play schedules. 7 home games doesn't mean you're going to win 7 games. We could get our butts kicked this year if we don't adhere to the process. And that's my big push with our guys this year is understanding that we are totally capable and we are confident. And I love our high goals, but goals mean nothing without a really strict adherence to a process. And that's what we're going to chase each and every week.
And that brings up the next thing. A lot of expectations. Picked 5th by the coaches, 4th in the conference by the media. There is an expectation that this is the year ISU returns to the FCS playoffs. How do you, as a staff, convey to the players that, yeah, there's a lot of talk about us, but how do you handle that?
I think to me, like even today, I'm like, hey, how many guys have played for Idaho State before? And more than half the team raised their hands. I'm like, all the stuff that you heard, like you can't wake up on third base and be fired up, patting yourself on the back that you just hit a triple. I mean, I think the foundation that's been laid here because of some serious contributors that we wouldn't have gotten here if it wasn't for administrative support and great players going out and executing. But we still got to worry about us, man. It's always the Bengals versus the Bengals. And, I laugh that preseason polls are such a crock of phooey. I mean, every single year, all we do is get picked what we finished the year before. Right. And people act like, oh, it's magic. Is this? No. If any person, you could never heard of college football. If you get on the internet and you Google what we finished last year and submitted that as your vote, are we going to say, wow, that's really innovative by you, Scott? No.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
So, I think all of college football tends to do that, and they act like, it's amazing that there's a business around it because it's the greatest sport in America, but so many people just go off of last year's finishes. But you got to understand, we have new people, a new schedule, and it's going to present new problems. Last year it was a lot of games on the road. You got a lot of guys hurt, or you're playing tough teams. And this year it could be, hey, you won some games, you found success. Now success is your opponent, or you're having to tackle guys that last year you might have been playing some more veteran guys up front. Now you're tackling, teaching, and handling different problems with newer guys. It's a new year. It's a new schedule. The standard has raised, which means our expectations of how we treat people, how we prepare, how we execute, how we finish, how we train has got to be higher. And I believe that will, the rising tide lifts all ships. If our standard moves, our team performance should move. But I have zero expectations for records and losses. I've been around college football long enough to know that all that stuff is stupid and meaningless. But to me, how you go play and how you treat people and how you perform, that really matters. And I'm really pleased with our guys' performance. I think we're performing at a really high level. I think we're performing at a level that has not been seen here recently, but we have to go do it.
Home opener, Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock against the Virginia Military Institute. What do you want to tell the fans? Why should they come out? What should they expect to see from the 2026 Idaho State Bengals?
Well, I say I want them to do a little bit better, just like I want us to do a little bit better. I was texting Pauline last night about the chicken and the egg scenario about, do you want the Dome to be hostile, or do you want to have a good football team? Because I think those can both go hand. If we had the toughest place to play in America, we'd win more football games.
Sure.
And if we won more football games, more people would show up to our game. It is a chicken and egg scenario.
Sure.
So for me, all I ask is for everybody to do a little bit more. I want our defense to force more turnovers. I want our offense to score more touchdowns in the red zone. I want us to finish better to the football. I want us to be a little bit better with our eyes and protection. Just like I want a couple more fans to just say, you know what, I haven't been to an Idaho State football game in a while. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to stay on my feet, and I'm going to scream a little bit louder. I'm not saying everybody has to show up, and I'm not saying they're dumb if they don't come. But we got something special going on here.
Right.
And if everybody does a little bit better, I think they're going to be part of something pretty special.
Well, Cody, I know I know there is a buzz around the community. I mean, I'm out and about. I hear it. I have people ask me, hey, how are the Bengals going to do? Tell me what's going on at camp. I think we're going to there'll be a good turnout at the ICCU Dome on Saturday, and we wish you the best of luck. And you and I will talk again tomorrow. Get pregame. We'll talk more about VMI. So if you want to know more about VMI, make sure you tune into our ICCU pregame show on Saturday afternoon on KISU FM, and here get Cody's thoughts on VMI.
So, thanks for having me. Excited about Saturday. Show up, be loud, go Bengals.
All righty. Well, we're going to switch gears here and let Cody get back to game prep and so forth. I want to remind you once again, every Thursday, 11:30, here at the Union Tap Room in Old Town Pocatello, we'll have the Idaho State Coaches Show. Didn't get the specials today on the first day. Kind of got caught up in the buzz of getting everything set up. But we'll keep you up to date on what the specials are, and want to give you another reminder as far as game day coverage for Idaho State versus VMI. Will begin at 3 p.m. on KISU FM with a replay of this Idaho State Coaches Show, the ICCU pregame show coming up at 3:30, and then at 4 o'clock we'll be on the air with Game 1 of the 2026 season. And I'll tell you what, Saturday afternoon can't get here soon enough. So we're joined now by Director of Athletics at Idaho State University, Pauline Thiros. Pauline, we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, let's go. Let's get to it.
Let's get first of all, quickly, it's kind of a sad deal, the passing of Dave Cragthorpe. Talk about him.
Well, Dave was such a huge part of our history and our legacy.
Yeah.
And every guy in particular from 1981 and the years surrounding that championship just revere him. They really respect him. They love him. They talk about him like he's a father figure, and he was a big part of their connection to Idaho State University. He was a big part of the reason that they've been coming back all these years, and that became their habit. And now they're going to keep coming back long after he's gone. But what an important figure. What a good friend. He was ride or die with the Bengals for a lot of years. Just loved Coach K, and our hearts really go out to Barb and his family.
Absolutely. Okay, now, I mentioned to Cody, and you know this as well, super positive attitude around the campus at Idaho State. There is a lot going on. I don't know where you want to start, but 1.2 million sounds like a pretty good starting point. The Prepare to Roar campaign just finished up. Talk and tell us about that.
I remember we started this campaign, I think, in my second year as athletic director, and we needed to figure out how we were going to get more money into these programs outside of scholarships. The other things that we needed were we had to find a way to fund them. So we wanted to raise $100,000 in 2 weeks real fast just to give us a boost for the football season that year. And we raced past 250, and now we're racing past 1 million, and this campaign's just going to grow, and it means so much to the programs. Everybody who supports it, everybody who invests in that campaign, that is felt immediately by student athletes. I mean, the very next day after a gift, it becomes nutrition, it becomes a better way to travel, it becomes, more rev share, more cost of attendance, more food in their bellies.
Right.
It's felt right away, and it's a big part of the reason we've been able to elevate our performance.
Now, the question that someone asked me was, how does the Prepare to Roar, does it have any impact, or does NIL impact that? Any of that funding go to the NIL side of things?
No, NIL, external NIL is pretty separate. We have partners, business partners, alumni, local businesses that build partnerships with student athletes and give them NIL deals, and that's a good partnership. Student athlete provides something to our partner in terms of exposure, and the partner provides some compensation to the student athlete. We do have some institutional NIL. That's really where the rev share comes in.
Okay.
And there is a fund in the Prepare to Roar campaign that is fueled just to be able to make deals with student athletes.
You had to replace a couple coaches over the summer. One kind of expected. I had my fingers crossed that maybe we get one more year on the softball side from Andrew Rich, but you had to replace Andrew Rich, and you brought in Harold Simmons, a guy that's very familiar with the Big Sky Conference, obviously. For you, what was the key to make Harold the guy?
Yeah, Harold was at the top of my list. Over all these years, when you're watching other softball around the Big Sky. You see UNC is winning championships when Idaho State is not.
Right.
And there's a real battle there between these two. And so that's a staff you just want to get to know. And for the last several years, hearing nothing but great things about Harold from the kids who play for him, from our kids who have friends that played at UNC,
Right.
the relationships that he has in softball. You just begin to encounter these other coaches in your travels that are noticeable, that stand apart, and he stands apart because of the way he loves, cares, and serves student athletes. It shows. And so I was delighted. A lot of schools have tried to hire Harold within the last 4 years, and I was so happy to get an audience with him and twist his arm and get him to Idaho State.
You know, the one thing that I noticed, Jason Alvin did an interview with Harold right after he was hired. He came across to me very similar to a Cody Hawkins sort of mindset and mentality when it comes to the kids and the program. Is that something that you saw?
I think that's a really fair statement. He does come across, they do have a lot of similarities, and the things that are important to them to invest in and the things that they put first are student athlete centered. They are also both. I don't think either one of them sleeps, but Harold just works all the time. He's very creative, and he's a really good partner. Both of these guys bring me 20 things a day that would be cool to do, and they really want to do them.
Sure.
And when I can do 3 of them, they forget about the other 17, and they really get ready to lean in and be all in on the things that we prioritize and that we can accomplish right away.
And Harold has put together quite the coaching staff. The latest announcement's kind of a big one. Billy Butler, former Major League Baseball player. He's been a hitting instructor with the Idaho Falls Chuckers here the last year or so. He's going to come and be a part of the coaching staff as the assistant, I think, associate or assistant coach and their hitting guy. That's got to be a little bit of a coup, wouldn't you say?
Oh, that's terrific. You know, Billy Butler's somebody I thought real hard about hiring.
Yeah.
You know, he's on that list too. He's on that short list. Everybody needs to have a list. And Billy was right there, and the relationships that he has throughout softball and baseball, and his knowledge and the way that he has with people, and the way that he just has fallen in love with women's softball and with coaching up the young kids and getting them opportunities. It is right in line with everything that Harold values. So Billy is going to be great. We're so fortunate to have him on our staff, as well as Katie and Garrett. I mean, he's assembled a very, very knowledgeable staff that we know we're going to treat the kids right.
And fans will be able to get a little glimpse, right? There's some fall games. I don't have the schedule right in front of me. You probably know. But let's talk about when folks can maybe see the Bengals in the fall.
October 9th, homecoming weekend.
Okay.
October 9th, we'll be out on Direct Communications Field playing some softball. So it's going to be a great year. Harold's doing a terrific job putting together a roster that really got pillaged this summer, and he's pulling out of that just fine, and I can't wait to see what the Bengals do.
Another coaching change you had to make late in the summer was the cross-country coach, and you brought in Sean Patrick Oswald. Now, you know, obviously cross-country is not one of those kind of high-profile sort of deals, but it's still a big part, and the program last year made some strides forward. How do you see Sean Patrick being able to continue that rise?
Yeah, Coach SPO, if you haven't had a chance to meet him and talk to him, you need to. What an interesting guy, what terrific life experiences. And he came out to Idaho State. He really recognized we have the ingredients for a terrific cross-country program.
Sure.
We're fully funding scholarships. We've got a beautiful new course. We've got really great indoor and outdoor track facilities so that those student athletes can compete in distance events in track and field and also score points and perform really well. And he's loving it out here. I think he's so knowledgeable about the science of running and the psychological part of running. The student athletes are really, really buying in to his thoughtful approach. He's really building individual workouts and packages that lean into the strengths of every cross-country student athlete. And there's a lot to that.
Sure.
A lot to the rest of us just don't know. We think they just go out there and run, but there's more to it than that. And Sean's going to excel because he's a professional, and he's going to be very, very good for us.
We talked about high expectations in the athletic department, and I know the sport near and dear to your heart, volleyball team, Sean Carter. They've got the Bengals. I think they're in Kansas. They play tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Who is it, John? Oh, Stephen F. Austin.
At Wichita State.
Yeah, at Wichita State. So talk about just what Sean has been able to do, too, because I think they were picked, finished tied third in the preseason poll, which we all know doesn't really mean necessarily a lot, but it does show a sign of respect, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Well, look at the kids that he is returning. You got Nora Watts from right up in Rexburg on the roster. What a talented freshman she is. Last year she was, and had a great campaign in her first year. Just creative, athletic, very, very competitive, and now she's gaining skill. She's got a whole season of skill. You never go into that with a sophomore setter that has as many D1 reps as she does. Of course, bringing back Jaden is amazing for us. She's definitely the best middle blocker in the Big Sky. She can really fly. She's a big target. Strong outside hitters, returning student athletes at the lib position. I think that he's doing really well building that team with depth.
Right.
And, of course, there's some injuries. Had a great exhibition win over Utah Valley already this season, and two of the projected starters were on the bench. So just really excited about the type of athletes that are on that team, and what they're capable of is really pretty special. And so far, they're loving their experience at Idaho State. And so our expectation is that we're going to keep them here, and they're going to fly.
Let's talk about Saturday. There's been some changes at the ICCU Dome. So let's first of all talk about, because one of the problems, and we all know this, the concourses are very tight, and there's really no place to go because of the state board law about selling alcohol and stuff. You can't leave and go out, right? But you guys have done something to fix that and make it easier for folks to talk a little bit about what's happening up there.
Yeah, the Dome staff and the ticketing office and the security staff has been working on this all summer long, and it really was their brainchild to expand the concourses outside. People go out, can get fresh air. There'll be concessions, there'll be entertainment, there'll be apparel and gear for purchase, and there'll be something, that kids who are at the game and families can get out there, let the kids run around, things like that will keep them through the fourth quarter, because they want to enjoy the game. But, who doesn't in 3.5, 4 hours need a chance to go stretch their legs?
Sure.
So it's going to give people that opportunity. And, it's going to bring our stadium into current times in terms of safety and security. We have been really fortunate to not have any adverse events, and I'm telling you, we don't want to. We don't want to be the institution that thinks about safety and the well-being of our fans after something bad happens. So we might have been the last stadium in the country at a college campus not to have security on game day. So we're going to have those density monitors at all four corners. You're going to be able to enter on the north, enter at the south, and just have a lot more walking around room on game day.
As far as that entry process goes, what should folks expect differently? Not just because they're there, but what kind of restrictions or what kind of things should folks be aware of so they don't have to maybe get to the gate and go, oh my goodness, I got to go back to my car and put this away or whatever? Well,
we have a clear bag policy like we always have. Everything's got to be in a small clear bag. We won't be able to bring in backpacks and those kinds of things. This is a density monitor, so it's not like a metal detector. You're going to need to put things in a tray and walk through without those items. And it should be pretty easy at the 4 ticketing. There'll be 4 places to enter with your ticket. It is really helpful, those of you that have tickets in advance, buy them early. There will be 1 place to get your tickets. It will be out on the north side in the ticket booth. So I think that avoiding picking up your tickets just an hour before the game is probably a really good practice. But in general, it's going to make everything else easier. A lot more space, a lot more availability of concessions and variety of concessions. By the way, you can enter the game 90 minutes before kickoff instead of just an hour, so you can start to get yourself settled.
Sure.
And you're going to be able to buy anything from a beer to a soda to a pulled pork sandwich in concessions. So there's most of this is going to make the game day experience a lot better.
And the ticket booth has changed. It's not the one that folks are used to right there built into the dome. This is going to be out, because you extended out, what was it, about 70 feet?
About 70
feet.
Folks
will notice that big sign is gone, and the flower beds that were there or whatever have been taken out, and now it's just a an open space for people to walk
It's
around.
an open space. It's an open deck patio, if you will, so that people can be out there enjoying the beautiful weather that we have in Idaho in the fall. And that ticket booth is on the north side center at the outside of the perimeter, and it should be able to service a lot of people.
And I know you're expecting, that, like I said, a lot of folks are expecting a big season, which tells me I think we're going to have a pretty good crowd on Saturday and the tailgaters. I mean, is there anything better than a college football game day experience?
Not to me. I think if we could fill up that parking lot, get all of our tailgaters the spots are sold out.
Right.
And making sure everybody gets there, parks in them, has a great day in the lot is a big part of the game day experience. FAT has stepped up. They've expanded what they're doing. The students have a huge tailgate, which we love to support, but students, this being the first week of school, are going to turn out to have their own party there on the north side as well.
Okay.
So really trying to make that north side a big festive game day environment, and it just gets better every year. We're very excited. Season ticket sales are up. Single game ticket sales are up for the first game of the season, so we expect a great turnout on Saturday.
Pauline, like I said, there is a lot going on around campus, and I probably haven't hit everything. Is there anything that you'd like to speak to as far as, future plans or things you can talk about, or just things that maybe I've missed that you want to talk about up at Idaho State?
Well, we always have a number of capital projects.
Yep.
We are ticking off the capital projects every year. We're actually going to, I can't tell you today, but we're going to announce a new one that people will be very excited about in October. We're working very hard on the sports performance and football complex.
Yep.
That will be where the old orthopedic building is now. We've been raising funds for that and are getting very close to being able to start that project. We'll be getting an entirely new makeover of the indoor track and field facility that we are able to put down in the dome, and that's going to completely transform the utility of the ICCU dome. It's going to be much more friendly, much easier to turn. We've really needed that for a long, long time.
Yeah, when I came up for fall camp, I saw some pallets of white panels sitting outside there, and I asked John Match, I go, what's going on? And basically what it is, that's going to cover the turf, so instead of having to rip the football field out 2 or 3 times a year
Or
for
6
other events,
or
or
7.
6 or whatever,
Yeah.
which takes close to a week, 4 or 5 days,
Yeah.
right? You guys are going to be able to put this down. Was there a corporate sponsor behind that, or was that just another capital
So
thing?
there are two. There's a major investment in this project. I mean, that decking you speak of, that's
Yeah.
about $1 million worth of decking.
Sure.
And the track is not cheaper than
No
that.
way,
So
yeah.
there's several millions. It was all privately raised, and there were a couple of partners that stepped up big time that we'll talk about at a later date who made that entire project possible. And then you talk about the progress we're making across sports. We want to keep winning softball championships, Scott. We're going to be
Yep.
building an indoor practice facility up at the softball stadium that has been a lead gift has been completed by some of our softball alumni, and that's going to be an indoor facility for softball and golf.
Right.
So I might work on my golf game a little bit up there, but we have no plans of slowing down in terms of making our facilities better for our fans and student athletes.
Well, Pauline, I mean, this is what is it officially for you?
This
7?
This is year 8.
8, okay,
Yeah,
it's
working
7
on
or 8.
year
I
8.
knew it was right there. What keeps your energy up? What drives you to continue to? I mean, look, you're everywhere every day, it seems like, and I see boundless energy. What drives you?
I love my Bengals. I mean, you hear me say it all the time. Have I ever said how much I love my Bengals? That's just the real, authentic thing. I love these programs. I'm a product of these programs and of this institution and this community. And I think that if you're the AD at Idaho State, you better love it with all your heart and all your strength. And I show up every day because I can't wait to get here. And it's been important to me just to fully and completely reject everything everybody believed about Bengal athletics 7 years ago.
Sure.
That is so far in the rearview mirror. Everything I see is elevated. We're going to keep building things. We're going to keep building our rev share. We're going to keep winning championships. We've won a championship every year for 6 years.
Yep.
It's been a very long time since we could boast about Big Sky championships, but now we can, and we're going to keep moving in that direction. I just want to see the kids have a terrific experience that changes and guides their life like it's guided mine, and that's That's the principle. That's why I hire people like Harold. That's why I hire people like Cody Hawkins who are going to love and invest in the kids and the programs.
That brings up the last question, because I've never really asked you this. Was there a particular event or something or someone during your career at Idaho State that kind of put you on this path to where you are today?
I wouldn't say there's a particular person.
Yeah.
It really was a particular experience. You know, it was my experience as a student athlete. Right. That's where I learned how to compete. That's where I learned what I was capable of. That's where I learned why this is all so important as a part of a university's package, as a part of a student athlete's life. That's what really set me on this path, is seeing firsthand the power and the purpose of collegiate athletics, which in spite of all the changes in the landscape today, that purpose remains the same. We are here for the Bengals, and that's still true at Idaho State, and it always will be.
And it's going to be a fantastic year. And Pauline, we appreciate you taking the time. I know, just like Cody, you're about as busy as, well, my grandpa used to say, a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
There
but
you go.
I know that it takes time to come down here, and we appreciate it very much.
I love it. I love my Bengals.
Hey, that's going to put a wrap on it for our first edition of the 2026 Idaho State Coaches Show. Again, every Thursday, 11:30, Union Tap Room, Old Town, Pocatello will be here. And not every week is it going to be Cody and Pauline. We're going to cover the gamut of sports, and we hope you'll either tune in, listen in on iTunes or Spotify or the KISU website, or come join us and have lunch here every Thursday at 11:30. So don't forget, game day, 4 p.m. kickoff. We'll be on the air at KISU FM 3 o'clock with the Idaho State Coaches Show, 3:30 with the ICCU pregame show. Mitch Beckstead and I will have the play-by-play for you beginning at about 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. The Bengals take on VMI, and we hope to see you there. Until next Thursday, I'm Scott Gross saying roar, Bengals, roar.